We are here with members of the Buffalo Juneteenth Committee, Councilmember Ulysees Wingo, members of the city administration, and other community members as I declare that Juneteenth will be a holiday for city employees beginning in 2021. I want to thank the Juneteenth Committee for their years of dedication, creativity, determination, and commitment to Black history. We have been celebrating Juneteenth in Buffalo for 45 years. This is the 45th year, and the Buffalo Juneteenth celebration is one of the longest and largest in the world, and that is something that we are very proud of. We are now dealing with a dual global pandemic. We are dealing with the COVID-19 global health pandemic, and we are dealing with the global pandemic of racism. And we have seen in Buffalo, all across the nation, and all across the world, Black people, white people, Latino people, Native people, people of other backgrounds are crying out, Black Lives Matter. Yeah. They're crying out, Black Lives Matter. That is being cried out in communities all across this country and all across the world. Here in Buffalo, we are listening to those cries. We are responding to those cries, and we are focused on the urgent, specific, real work of making a difference. So today, as mayor of the city of Buffalo, working with the people of this community, listening to the people of this community, working with the Buffalo Juneteenth Committee, I am very proud to declare that in 2021, Juneteenth will become a holiday for all City of Buffalo government employees. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce, to come to the podium, the president of the Buffalo Juneteenth Committee, Mr. Marcus Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor because the mayor has always been with us since he stepped in City Hall as a council person, helping us with the unemployment and job fair. 4th of July is coming up, and what I realized some time ago is that how can we celebrate the 4th of July, 1776? Where's our independence? I don't think you understand. Some of y'all may or may not understand what I'm talking about. How can I turn around and celebrate a time when my people were in bondage? How can I celebrate that? No way. And not only that, as a teacher, I had to get up in class and teach the reason why we celebrate the 4th of July. Thank God for people like Sharon Holly and Eva Doyle, who taught me history, who explained to me the necessity of celebrating Juneteenth. Thank God for Claudia Sims, who was our founder of Juneteenth here in Buffalo, because they taught us. Some of us, we call ourselves baby boomers. We've been here before. We've been here before. We've seen the marches. We've seen the cruelty that's been with our people. But we're tired. We're tired now. We're slow in walking, slow in talking. Almost was late today. It's time for the millennials to carry the torch. It's time for the millennials to look forward to trying to cure some of the injustices, not only in the city of Buffalo, but in the state of New York. And I have to give a shout out to our governor also, because he did a great job during this pandemic. He saved lives. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to our Executive Vice President, which is Jomo Akono.
I'd like to thank everyone. I'd also like to, first of all, thank our Creator. I would definitely be remiss if I didn't thank our ancestors. I would like to thank all administrators. I have to give a special shout out to our mayor, Mayor Byron Brown. Just historically speaking, one of the most volatile times in the city of Buffalo in my lifetime happened a few Sundays ago, which was the day before we were supposed to raise the liberation flag. This month, like this whole year, 2020, has been very visual and very spiritual. We were worried that we weren't going to be able to raise the flag to promote and celebrate Juneteenth for the whole month, and the mayor reassured me that with proper, safe distancing, we are going to make sure that we raise the flag, and he also encouraged us that it's important for us to be the voice of stability. The Juneteenth theme this year, even before COVID, even before all of the activities around racism, and even before, Mayor, there's one more thing taking place. We are in the worst economic crisis since probably the Great Depression. People might not have realized it yet, but many people are hurting on many different ways. So we have a health pandemic, we have a racism pandemic, and we have an economic pandemic, all taking place at the same time. Many people who are living still might not be breathing properly because we're under a barrage of attacks. But the Creator has also given us each other. And there's inspiration if we can go back to our history. We have days called Sankofa, which means go back, fetch, and return. Being the original people of the earth, we have a lot of history to look at. So what we're doing with the Juneteenth is trying to share that with everyone. So I'm just going to be talking about what we're going to be doing after today, because we're into the Juneteenth 365 culture, which means all year long. We're going to be looking and asking for more partners. We have some projects that we're going to be starting Monday, Sunday, pretty much after this weekend. Project Access to Africa, WFO, is going to be working with the Juneteenth Festival. One of the greatest teachers of world history is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Juneteenth of Buffalo and other partners are going to be working with having this as a book read for our community, and we're inspiring people around America to read this last book. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? This is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King that many people do not talk about, and we're going to get into this not just to have a family fun book read, but we want to have an intergenerational discussion on how do community people learn, educate, effectuate change, and be responsible for governing and building their own communities. That is one of the gaps that we have had. We have not understood how to put civics, history, and creativity together. That is one project that we're going to do a year long, and I would like to add that Canisius College is going to be one of the co-sponsors, where we're going to have a one-year project with the university and the community. Another project that we are working on is access to technology. We had some small jokes in our board. What would happen if the city of Buffalo school system shut down? Would we be able to educate our own? Well, for the last few months, most people's children have been at home or in this park. Our city does not have the mass technology, and our residents, who are mostly underemployed, even for people with 2 jobs, don't have the access to technology. The Juneteenth Festival is going to be looking for partners to make sure that we educate our elders, our millennials, and our young people on how to use technology in the 21st century, so that if education stops in the public system, we as a community can still have access to information, and we can teach our elders how to get on the Facebook and the Twitter, all right? These are things that can take place, but it also creates an intergenerational educational process which maybe might not have been created. We always talk about young people need to go to school. But what about creating a culture where we're always learning from the cradle to the grave? After 401 year, many people are just now finding out what really happened to us. And that's our third project. What really happened to us? We need to really find out. In order for us to celebrate Juneteenth, free Africans were stolen, human trafficked from Africa. And if your family don't possess an application for citizenship or an INS paper, you're evidence of stolen property. These things have not been rectified up until 401 years later. From 1619, when forcible Africans were brought here, to 2019, marked 400 years. We're in our 401st year now, some biblical proportion like type stuff. All right? I'm not the pastor. I'm going to come out the Bible. I'm going to leave that for Councilmember Wingo, Pastor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jomo Akono. And as you can see, Juneteenth has emphasized throughout its 45-year history the importance of factual information and education. Right now, as you heard from Jomo, as we deal with three global crises, a global health crisis, a global crisis of racism, and a global economic crisis, it's important that people be provided with factual information and education so that they can make sound decisions at this critical time in our history. In Buffalo, we are listening. One of the members of our community who is out every day listening to the people is Maston District Council Member Ulysees Wingo.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you all for joining us, the media, for coming out today to help us celebrate Juneteenth here in the city of Buffalo. I see Juneteenth a little bit different. January 1863, Emancipation Proclamation was enacted, but it wasn't until June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years later, that the last enslaved Africans were made aware that they were free. And on that day, they had to make a decision whether or not they were going to stay on the plantation or if they were going to go and work for themselves. Now, we're celebrating Juneteenth, and I commend the mayor, I commend the governor for making this a holiday, but a holiday is an exemption from work. That day marked the day that we had to start working for ourselves to prove that we were equal with the rest of this country. I wish somebody would say amen, say ashe, somebody say something. At the end of the day, the work did not stop for us in 1865. The work for us to prove our equality, to prove that we deserve the same justice, freedoms, and liberties started on June 19th, 1865. And here we are in 2020, and we made it a holiday. Well, let me say this to my people. I'm talking about my black folks, and I'm with you with my brown brothers and sisters, and I'm with my indigenous folks. But let me talk to my black folks. On today, this is not a holiday for us. This is the day that marked the beginning of the work that we have to put in this country. So today, let's all of us make sure that we fill out the census. Hello. Let's make sure we fill out the census, number one. And Murray behind me just said my point number two. Let's make sure that you are registered to vote. That's how we can make sure that we are counted. That's how we can make sure that our voices are really heard. And when we vote, let's all decide who we're going to vote for. We can put whoever we want to in office. We have to do these things. And third, but not least, let's prove that Black Lives Matter. Let's prove that Black Lives Matter by first killing each other. Second, by encouraging our white folks and our white family and all of our white allies to show that they are hearing us, that they know and acknowledge our pain that we've gone through. I didn't mean to say all of this, but I'm feeling some kind of way right now, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that the world knows that we matter to ourselves first, and then they will come behind us and show us that we matter. But we have to matter to ourselves first. And today, as we celebrate Juneteenth in this historical place, in front of this bus that represents the freedom, the liberation of our people, which represents the abolition of slavery, let's all come together and make sure that we fill out the census, that we register to vote, and then vote after you register. Hello. And then third but not least, let's value each other first so that we can prove that Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Member Wingo. Certainly, Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom. It is a celebration of Black love. It is a celebration of love. We have to value each other. And as we declare today together that in 2021, Juneteenth will become a holiday for City of Buffalo employees, it also is a day of reflection for all of those employees. Reflection on what each and every one of us can do to fight racial injustice. A reflection on what every institution in Buffalo can do, what every institution in this nation can do to end racial injustice. So I am glad to stand here with the Buffalo Juneteenth Committee, who have been leaders globally in the celebration of Juneteenth, to declare that in Buffalo, Juneteenth will continue to be a day of reflection, a day of love, and a day of education and presenting factual information to our community. With that, I will open up for on-topic questions that the members of the media have. Thank you very much, Ms. Betty Jean Grant. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service on the Buffalo Juneteenth Committee. Yes, Karis. There are a number of things that are underway to educate people about the history. Perhaps a member of the Juneteenth Committee would like to speak to what Juneteenth is doing, since today is June 19th, to talk about the work that Juneteenth is doing to celebrate and to educate people about Black history.
Yes, in response to that question, for the last probably 5 or 6 years, we have been doing some initiative projects, actually with help from the mayor and some cultural funding. We have been working on projects called Marcus Garvey Back to School Readiness Projects. And in addition to that, we began to work with even trade unions trying to get crafts, education, and culture in the heart of the community. Many of our members are not going to go to UB North for a lecture. They're not going to go to some of the universities. So the key right now is to make sure that we have quality education inside of our building. And the concept arose, one of our ancestors who was helping with science, Mother Crystal Austin Seymour, she's ancestor now. We created a concept called Communiversity. That means all age learning all the time. So when school is out, cultural institutions should be in. And we've been trying to assemble our artists, our professionals, and especially our women scientists, our women who are professionals, but people who are also artists and professionals, so that our young people can realize that you don't have to choose between your culture and intellect. As a matter of fact, it's expected of you once you know who we are. BC. Before captivity, we are the scientists. We are the ones who built universities. We were the ones who mapped astronomy, just like there's going to be an eclipse and all of those things. We knew those things. So we have to really return to who we were before captivity, and that is exactly to what I was speaking on, what happened to us, and we're going to be doing that in the schools as well. Thank you.
I just want to add that Juneteenth is a board. We have a board and we have 36 committees. we're no longer just one committee. We have a board, and on that board we have about 15 members, and then we have about 36 committees under them. And the other thing I'd like to say is the Juneteenth Festival is still going on, by the way. We're having a virtual festival, Juneteenth of Buffalo. Please go to Facebook, Twitter, and all the other media, and you'll see Juneteenth, all the editions. There were so many contributions added to the virtual Juneteenth that we couldn't do it in 2 days. We could not do it. Although I miss being out here in the park, though.
Yeah.
I really do, and I think others do too. But sometimes you have to miss something to really appreciate it. Ma'afa, we're supposed to celebrate that. I believe it was supposed to be on the 21st, which is Sunday. So Juneteenth Festival is still going on. It's just not here in the park.
It will be a paid holiday for city employees, as well as a day of reflection for city employees on what we can do to help end racial injustice. And I absolutely support making Juneteenth a national holiday. Thank you very much, Angelica. Let me also respond to Karis's question about education. For 20 years, I have been doing a summer reading program for children in our community. And with me today is Commissioner Otis Barker, our Commissioner of Community Services, Shatora Donovan, our Chief Diversity Officer, and Rashid McDuffie, an attorney in the city's law department. This year, we will be having our summer reading program virtually. And we will be recommending Black history books that children of all backgrounds can also read as part of the summer reading program. We will be making that announcement next week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Juneteenth Committee. Thank you, Councilmember Wingo.